what was kind of sparked the whole thing was me talking about Tim Bushman at TBM Racing. All right. He's out of Oakley, California. I think he's still there. And Tim has his own CNC shop. He fabricates his own products. He does a lot of really trick stuff. And Tim had, in like 2008, 2009, he had developed what he called a tunable ride plate. And the tunable ride plate kind of was a misnomer. It was kind of wrong. And the reason why I say so was primarily because the tunable ride plate was bearing the neatest feature. And the neatest feature of that ride plate was that it had a drop tab or a trim tab. And what that means is that the back half of the ride plate, in fact, I brought up a very old, very small picture of it. It's no longer in production. So what you're looking at right here, here's the tail edge of the ride plate. Was inside of here was a 3-inch plate that was hinged. And you see this large block that's got kind of a cam function on it. All right. It's high on two ends and dips in the middle. What did that do? Well, the jet nozzle would sit in this little crevice. All right. And the jet nozzle going straight meant that the plate was flush, or the tab was flush with the plate. Great. High speed. Whoa, wide open. Here we go. But if you start going into a corner, your nozzle turns to go into a corner. So it pivots. And as it pivots, it rolls on the cam, on this lobe, and it pushes down the tab. So suddenly it puts up a little bit of an air brake, or a water brake. And then suddenly it goes whoop, and it pops down as your nozzle is all the way over here. Okay? And what that would do was it would bring the nose down. It would force the nose down into the corner because all watercraft turn more aggressively on the nose. So it would force the nose of the Ultra down into the water, and you could hook. So you'd be flat, you'd be neutral plane, and then into a corner you would be negative plane. You'd cut down. And I loved it. It knocked my socks off. Okay. And this thing was just really out of sight. And it really knocked a lot of people for a loop. And here's why it was so innovative. It was the exact inverse of what R&D and a couple other guys are doing with what was called a drop nozzle. Okay. For you guys who don't know what drop nozzles are, a drop nozzle worked similarly, but not on the ride plate. The drop nozzle would take the nozzle, and as it turned, it would actually do this. So the nozzle was not only turning side to side, but also pointing down. And what that did was that forced the nose down. It thrusted the nose down, forcing it using the thrust to get it into the corner. The problem with the drop nozzle is that it requires you to be on the throttle going into a corner. And a lot of people do not throttle into a corner. Okay? They don't. Racers do. People with throttle control do. All right? Remember I talked about this last week? So throttle control, and if you throttle into a turn, that ski is just going to leap for joy. It's going to be happy as a clam. So a drop nozzle works best if you're really good with your throttle control. But a lot of people would put on a drop nozzle and be like, I don't know why it's not working. It's like, because you're easing off the throttle going into a corner. Now, you can chop the throttle, which drops the nose, and then gas it around the corner, and that drop nozzle is going to work cherry pie. But what Tim was struggling with was people who didn't have good throttle control. So he says, well, hell, I'll take the need for thrust out of the equation, and I'll make it a drag on the plate. The problem is that it effectively made the ride plate something like $700. It's a lot of equipment. All right. It took a lot of work. and it was a beautiful piece of equipment. I mean, and it worked awesome. And I'll tell you, I'm gonna give away a secret here. I don't think it was entirely his idea, because this is a spy shot of the Kawasaki tent from like 2006 and 2007. All right. Same exact thing on the race built 15F. They had one. It's right there. All right. It's an old, it's super grainy. I mean, dude, it's grainy as all get out. But you can see that adjustable trim. You can see that drop tab right there. And this is on the back of a 15F, STX 15F. So I'm sure Tim and Tim was involved with Kawasaki. So Tim's like, well, I'm going to make one. So he cast his own plate and he made that trim tab or that drop tab just like Cowie had. Bushman still has a few things. He still has a few tricks up his sleeve for the Ultras. And this is pre-2022 Ultras, because although the ride plate physically is the same, it has different mounts for the brake system. And so it has to be updated for the brake. But 21 and older, 21 to 07, or 07 to 21, this ride plate works beautifully. And this is the same ride plate that he sells to Riva. So if you go to Riva and buy their Ultra Kawasaki ride plate, it's the same thing. But what's funny about this plate is that this plate is identical to the trim tab, drop tab plate, just without the tab. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out. This clip was taken from our weekly podcast that we record here every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to watch the whole video, you can go to the Watercraft Journal's YouTube channel, go to playlists, and then click on live sessions. You're going to see it there. Otherwise, go ahead and leave a like, a comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow. And again, thanks again for watching our videos, and we hope to see you soon.